Hey there, it is Wits Devereaux, and if you have been following me, I have been talking all month long for February about what love is versus what love isn't. Now, on one hand, I'm talking about what love is from a biblical perspective. I've given different scripture references, including Psalm 86, verse 5, and 1 Corinthians 13. We went all the way from 1 Corinthians 13, 1, all the way to 5. Yesterday is where we left off. And I had planned out just to continue on with going one verse at a time. So starting with 6 and then continuing on with 7 next week. However, I just got a message from someone reaching out, trying to get help for a loved one. So I went back and I looked up some different resources that I had shared on my blog, but because some of you are new to me, I wanted to take time to go through that information today, especially because it is still February, and February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. I've been sharing different statistics about Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, including 1.5 million high school students nationwide being affected by physical abuse in a dating relationship, as well as 3 in 4 parents have never talked about domestic violence. And in going to visit a high school recently and spending time there with the parents, someone actually asked me, how do they get the conversation started? Why would they need to talk to their children in depth about abuse? Well, if you recall being a teenager, you didn't always talk openly about what was going on in your life with your parents. So, different things to do to make sure that they have knowledge about it is to talk to them in advance and make sure that they have the resources that they need in the event that they are not comfortable talking to you, but say a trained professional through the loveisrespect.org organization. Another way, because we're all glued to our phones these days and age, they can text love is to 22522 and get access to help that way if they are someone who is in an abusive relationship, or it is someone who is concerned about their teenager who they believe is being abused. And so a while back in October, when I was writing during October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I wanted to go over the power and control wheel to make sure that people knew that abuse was not only physical. Because sometimes when we think of abuse, the first thing we think about is physical abuse, hitting, slapping, punching, kicking, shoving, things like that. However, there are other forms of abuse that I'll talk to you in depth about today. So, were you like me and thought that abuse was only physical? Everyone around me could see the relationship was toxic, but me. Wasn't it normal to name call during the arguments? I wasn't hit, but pushed. Does that still count? No and yes. No, name calling is not normal, and it's actually a form of verbal abuse. Yes, pushing, shoving, pulling hair, holding down against one's own will are all examples of physical abuse. I posed a question online a while back and asked people to name one reason why victims of abuse find it difficult to leave. Some of the feedback I received included fear of what may happen to them or their families, money, being financially dependent upon their significant other, rationalization, history of abuse as a child, damaged or low self-esteem, and feeling like physical violence equals love. That last one really made me think and honestly broke my heart. Now is a good time for me to remind you that if you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, help is available. I gave you the information for loveisrespect.org for your teenager, but there's also the domestic violence hotline, which you can call 24 hours, 7 days a week at 1-800-799-7233. You can take a moment to pause, rewind, to make sure that you're able to write down that number. I always recommend parents and teens to put those numbers in their phone just in case. They may see signs in their friends or family or loved ones and can readily have that information available to share with them. Now, this list that I gave you of why people decide to stay or they find it hard to leave is not exhaustive, but it gives you a pretty good idea of some reasons why people stay. This is something that's kept me in the bondage of abuse longer than I should have been, and many other people. It doesn't have to be you, though. You deserve to be treated with dignity, love, and respect. Love is not abuse, which is the title of this whole broadcast. What love is versus isn't. Love is not abuse. February 12th through 16th has been declared by the Love is Respect organization to be the Respect Week. Love is Respect Week. We know love is respect. Love is not abuse. We can even go deeper. In 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, it shows us exactly what love is, and it should be the standard that we hold ourselves and others to that say they love us. Love doesn't hurt. It took me a while to realize this because every man that I loved until the point of me walking away had caused me pain, either physical or emotional, and sometimes both. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged, which we talked about yesterday. If I say that I forgive you, it does not give me a right the next time we have an argument for me to bring that same issue back up that I said I forgave you about. Because if I love you, then I'm not going to keep a record of your wrongdoing. Which I just want to make a reminder here. I am going to be offering a course on overcoming unforgiveness. I was able to poll different audiences from Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and got a pretty good response that this is something that people are interested in. So make sure you stay tuned for that. You can actually go to my website, whitdevereaux.com, and you can subscribe to my blog, and in that way you'll be the first to know about the course offering. Love does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful. I can recall sitting in my counselor's office and her showing me the power and control wheel. How many of you have heard of the power and control wheel? I had never heard of such a thing. But she was determined to show me that the mistreatment I described was abuse, even though I didn't get hit in this particular relationship. The name calling, put downs, trying to convince me and others that I was crazy in order to make himself look better, the grabbing of my neck and slinging me around like a rag doll was all abuse. The one that hurt most was using my children to try to get to me. At the center of the wheel is power and control, and that is in essence what abuse is all about. Trying to have power and control over another person. Now, sometimes when you are being abused, you may find yourself also becoming abusive. So if you see yourself displaying any type of behavior that doesn't resemble what God says love is, then you also need to check yourself. That's something that I had to do because as a result of the abuse I endured, I found myself becoming abusive also. Now, sometimes people ask me, well, I want to leave. What do I do? I recommend that you have a safety plan in place and do not disclose this to your abusive partner. Again, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You want to make sure that you remember what love is and what it's not. And you see in 1 Corinthians 13 from 4 through 7 what love is and what it's not. Educate yourself on what abuse looks like. So when somebody is displaying signs of abuse, you can see those warning signs, leave, or if you see it happening to somebody that you love, you can give them resources to leave safely. Having a safety plan is key. I was fortunate enough to have a support group within my church, but there are local community groups and organizations that will assist you. Back in October, I donated to a program called the Wings Program. I'm not affiliated with them, but I really believed in their organization and their mission to help women and children impacted by domestic violence. So that's another resource. Again, you know that you can always get my book. It talks about domestic violence, depression, low self-esteem, even overcoming teenage pregnancy. All of this good information is on my website, whitdevereaux.com. And I've also done many trainings on Periscope about it, so I'm on there too. I have saved all of this information and uploaded it to my YouTube channel as well, because I know sometimes it's hard to keep up with all the different areas. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and you will not ever miss out. Again, if you are being abused or you know someone who is, help is available. You do not have to stay stuck. You do not have to suffer. You don't have to be bound to abuse. You can get out safely for the sake of you. And if you are a mom, for the sake of your children. And if you're a teen, because this is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, for the sake of your future. You have your whole life ahead of you. And I know sometimes as teens we think we know so much, or our parents don't know what they're talking about. I know back when I was dating as a teenager, I didn't listen at all. And so that's why I think it's important for parents to pay attention to signs, because your kids are not always going to speak out. So if you are still in need of additional support or even prayer, you can message me directly here on this page or on my website via the contact form or on my email at info@whitdevereaux.com. I hope that you all have a blessed weekend. And again, make sure that you are on the email list, so that way, once the Overcoming Unforgiveness webinar releases, you will have first dibs to the information. All right, guys, that is it. What love is versus what love is not will continue next week. Bye-bye.